And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to take a look at a little bit older game. One from one of my favorite designers, Stefan Feld, that's published by Games, and that is Notre Dame, or Notre Dame, or whatever you want to call it. It's a game for 2 to 5 players. It'll scale appropriately with a kind of a modular player board, in which players are trying to best draft actions and take those actions in order to score victory points by influencing different areas of their board and also influencing Notre Dame, all while trying to avoid the plague. So real quick, we'll open up the box and see what comes inside of it, how the game plays, and then we'll come back here and we'll get my final opinions on Notre Dame. So here you can see the components of Notre Dame set up for a 3-player game. Now, you can see that this map is modular. It kind of comes apart here, and it's got a triangle in the center representing Notre Dame. But if you wanted to play 4 players, it would have a square, and the board would set up with an extra board for that player. And with 5 players, you're going to have a pentagon with which to set up the 2 extra boards around it. Each one of these boards is a player's own district, where they are going to be placing their cubes and influencing different types of buildings throughout the game in order to try and score victory points. In addition, each player is going to have one of these little carts that they're going to move around and try and pick up these messages, which will give them bonuses throughout the game. And I'll get to that shortly. You'll see that there are several buildings represented on each player's board, and these are going to be where you're placing influence and getting special benefits from placing that influence. In addition, each player is going to have their trusted friend, which is kind of like an influence marker. They're going to start with 4 influence markers, and they're not going to have the rest of these. So, for example, you'd have these 4 influence markers, and the rest would be off to the side for you to gain later. Now, each player also has this deck of 9 cards, which they're going to be using to take actions, and they'll all be different. And there's going to be some other cards you can buy throughout the game, which are up here, called person cards. Now, at the beginning of each round, you're going to lay out some of these person cards. You'll see these ones are labeled A. That's because there are 3 basic rounds in the game, A, B, and C. So these are kind of going to be a timer for the game. So at the beginning of each round, you're going to flip one of these A cards up to start. It'll be B later. And you'll flip 2 of these labeled cards up, the brown-backed cards here up. And these are the people that will be available to buy or influence at the end of the round. So we can see we have this one here, which says when you buy him, you can move 1 cube from the general supply to an area and activate it. We'll go over what that means shortly. Or we have this one here that says you can buy her, it would cost you money, and you can get 3 victory points in a coin, or 3 victory points in an influence, or 3 victory points and lower your plague by 1. Or we have this guy here who says you can get 2 cubes and a victory point. Anyhow, you'll reveal those first, and then you'll move on to choosing action cards. Each player is going to draw 3 action cards from their deck. This deck will be shuffled, and they're going to look at them, and you'll see we have several different cards here. Let me cover them real quick. We have one which will let you place a cube on the cart area right here, so you would play this card and place it here. And it's going to let you move your cart in a number of spaces, with these stalls, equal to the number of cubes you have there at the end of that action. And you can pick up one of those messages in order to get the benefit of it. You have the garden, which is going to lower your plague value by 1, so you'd move your track back 1. And in addition, for every 2 cubes you have in that area, anytime you score points, you'll get an extra point. You have this one here. When you place a cube there, you're going to get a cube from the supply, so it'll get you more cubes, and each cube you have there will give you more cubes. So if you have 3 cubes, then you'll get 3 cubes, and so forth and so on. You have this one here, which is Notre Dame. We'll come back to that one. We have another one here. Same thing as the cubes, but with money. For each cube you get there, you'll get more money. We have another one where it'll lower your plague value, and then when you actually do the calculations for plague, each cube you have here will allow you to not increase your plague by 1. We have this one here, which allows you to place your trusted friend, which is like an influence, but it's an extra influence, and it will activate that area. We have this one here, which gives you a cube, a money, or lowers your plague value by 1. And if you get 4 cubes there, you can do the actions twice. And then we have the final one, which gives you victory points in a tiered pattern like before, with the amount of cubes you have there. So each player will shuffle these and draw 3 from the top, and they're going to choose one of these cards that they want to keep, and then they're going to pass the rest to their left. So you're going to draft here, and each player will end up with a card from each of the players in the game. In a 3-player game, or in a more-player game, you'll end up with the cards from the 2 people to your right. Anyhow, once you have these cards, that's going to be your choosing action cards phase, and then you're going to play them. So you're going to look at what cards you have, and you're going to get to play 2 of them around the table. And when you play these, you'll do whatever the action is. Now, most of them are going to place influence. So, for example, when I play this one here, it would allow me to put an influence cube out onto my area that it depicts, so right here, and then I would get a victory point marker. And I'd have to pay attention if I have any of the special abilities that give me more victory point markers, but I'd take that marker and put it in my area. And the next person would take their turn. I'm going to set this card down in front of me. And the next person would take their turn and do whatever their card said, and all the way around. And then I would play a second one of my cards. So I'd see, okay, I have two of the same card, so it doesn't really matter which one I play. But when I play this, I'm going to bury one of the cards underneath it so people can't see what I didn't choose to use. So in this case, I'm going to use my trusted friend, and I'm going to place him out somewhere, and that would allow me to activate him. So maybe I put him out on the cart. I can move my cart one space because he counts as one influence. And maybe I move here and I pick this up, which gives me 2 victory points and a cube to my supply. So I get 1, 2, and a cube from the generic supply to my supply. After this, after everybody's played both of their actions, you're going to go on to the hire a person phase, which is this phase over here. Now, each of these people is available to be hired, and they cost 1 money to hire. So you'll see I get the benefits from them. Maybe I need more cubes and a victory point, or maybe I need to lower my plague track, probably not early in the game. Or maybe I want to place a cube from the general supply into an area that's empty and activate it. So maybe I pay $1 from my supply to do that, and I would be able to put this cube out somewhere and activate it. So maybe I decide I need more money, I put that cube out there, and I get $1 because I have 1 cube there. After I do all of this, after everybody's done all of this, you're going to go ahead and you're going to do what's called figuring out the plague value for the round. So each round you're going to gather some plague. And you're going to look at the cards that have been revealed, and you're going to look for these rats that are in the bottom of the card. So you'll see here, this one is 2 rats and this one is 2 rats. The plague value is 4. So this round, everybody's plague value is going to go up 4. Now, if you have things placed up here, which says that for each cube you have here, you go up 1 less, then you would go up 1 less, and it'd be 3. So if this cube were over here, we'd only go up 3. In addition, you can lower that by using some of the areas. This one here lowers it, and this one here lowers it, and some of the people cards will actually lower your amount of plague so that you don't go up. The reasoning you don't want to go all the way up is if you ever go past 9, you're going to suffer a penalty. And basically, if you go past 9, you're going to lose 2 victory points, and in addition to that, you're going to have to remove a cube from the area in which you have the most cubes. So this is a bad thing, because gathering more and more cubes in these areas gives you better and better rewards as you go on. For example, the next time I'm to place a cube here, I'm going to get 2 victory points. The next time I would get 3 victory points, and so forth and so on. Same is true with money. 1 money, 2 money, 3 money. Or movement, 1, 2, 3. Now with moving, there's a little bit of a catch. You pick up these messages, but you can only pick up 1 of each color until you have 1 of each color, at which point you can pick up a 2nd of each color, until you have a 2nd of each color and 3rd, so forth and so on. So it's a good idea to try and garner your cubes or gather your cubes all in the same area, but also to spread them out enough to get the different rewards you need, because you're going to need more cubes and you're going to need more money in order to pay for people. Basically, after the round is done, you're going to put these people back under their respective decks. So these 2 are going to go back under this deck, and the A is going to go under this deck. You're going to reveal new people for the next round. So that one says when you buy him, you get 1 point for each cube you have in all of your areas. And these ones here say you can move a cube from one area to another and activate it. And for this round, your plague is 0. So if you ever get your rat number to go underneath 0, you actually move backwards on this track, which is a good thing because you don't want to get up to 9. And then everybody's going to draw 3 more cards, and you're going to draft again. Play your action cards. Now, there is one action card that I did not cover, and that is the Notre Dame action card, which looks like this. When you play this card after you've drafted it, you have to pay 1, 2, or 3 money, place a cube from your supply out on Notre Dame, and you will score 1, 3, or 6 points for doing so. In addition, at the end of the 3rd round, the 6th round, and the 9th round of the game, you're going to score Notre Dame. And depending on how many players there are, Notre Dame is going to be worth a different amount of points. In a 3-player game, it happens to be 8. After those rounds, you're going to look and see how many cubes are on Notre Dame. So for example, let's say we had a situation like this. There are 4 cubes on Notre Dame. We would divide 8 by 4, round down, and distribute those points per cube to the players that are on there. So for example, 8 divided by 4 is 2. Green would get 4 points, and blue and red would get 2 points. And then you would continue on with the next round, starting round 4. Everyone at this point would have to shuffle all of their cards together again, so you would take all of your individual cards back, shuffle them, do another draft, start with the round B cards and shuffle all of the brown cards, and continue on with 2 more full rounds of 3 turns. After that, whoever has the most victory points will be the winner. Well, there you have it. That is Notre Dame. Actually relatively simple feld. I like the drafting mechanic. I think it's very interesting to try and get the right cards and try and not let other players know what you're attempting to do, but eventually they're going to figure out your plan. They're going to figure out, hey, he's doing a lot of, moving his cart and picking up different messages. I need to not let him have those cards. Or, hey, he's got his hospital really built up, so he's not going to take much plague. Maybe I need to try and, figure out a way to prevent him from doing that, or to get him to move pieces, or whatever the case may be. You're trying to, outplay your opponent in the drafting portion, and then it kind of plays itself, or it's a little more independent during the action-taking phase when you're playing the cards. I like the balance of trying to complete your actions and get a lot of victory points while at the same time trying to avoid the plague. You can't totally avoid that plague. You have to play in the park and the hospital to reduce your plague value and to prevent some of that plague. But you're trying to get a lot of cubes into specific areas to boost the number of victory points you get from certain things. So there's one card where for every 2 cubes you have in that area, anytime you score victory points, you're going to get extra points. So you kind of want to try and balance between all of that different stuff. That said, it's not a really, really deep game, but the level of strategy that you get for a shorter Stefan Feld title, it's only like an hour, or maybe an hour and 15 minutes long, is very good. So this is probably one of my favorite older Felds. You've got In the Year of the Dragon and several others, but Notre Dame, by far one of my favorite older Felds. I like a lot of his newer titles, and I'm expecting to see a lot from him this year. But if this one sounds interesting to you, check it out. It's Notre Dame from Stefan Feld.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.